are you?
So far, so good, thanks God. So working hard as all the teachers all over the world.
Fantastic.
Far so
Very
good
good.
too. Yeah.
Well, Tito, how is it going? How is it going?
Yeah, good. Trying to find a little peace here and there, you know, but we just got to keep up. Got to keep up. And ready for tonight's session. Of course, I thank you for the opportunity to be in this session, and let's see what we can share. I know that there's a lot of people asking, they want to know about these topics, so that's what I'm here for.
Absolutely, Tito. That's the idea. So, the importance of B2 for EFL teachers is some very interesting topic that all EFL community, even public and private teachers, notice that is very important for their personal development. I remember in one occasion when we talked together, we were mentioning about a positive, the advantages, and also the disadvantages we have when we take the B2 in a specific time, but then it comes late, and then we don't prepare more and more. So it is like a lack of the teachers. The teachers are affected to this lack of practice. No, so tonight you are going to talk about that. No.
That's true. And I'm sure that many of you will agree with me that if you start practicing something that at one moment you dominated, it will go away. That's why there's a saying that goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so, because many of us, we usually are sent to teach some specific levels, and after so many years, it's like you become that level because for some reason they already have everything they needed. They stop practicing. They just focus on the level that they're teaching, and what happens later? Boom! You lost in some way your proficiency or your fluency. So, and that happens to all of us, aren't we all? We have English as a foreign language, so if you don't use it, oh yes, we're going to lose it. So in that case, instead of losing it, if we practice it on a daily basis, we make it a conventional for daily activities. For sure, it's not that we're going to not only maintain it, but we will raise it up.
Definitely, Tito, I agree with you. So absolutely, the idea of preparing is because you need to rise up your level of for English. No, linguistic competence lose when you are not permanently work. No, especially in when you are interacting with the language, particularly with the students. No, because sometimes we can work in different levels, okay, in different positions, but what's wrong? The problem is when you are not using those linguistic skills predominant, and you can't how to improve. No, your students challenge you, so there's no improvement for your side. No, that's the point. No, what do you think about that, Elizabeth? About this topic, the importance of B2.
I totally agree. So we need to be aware that our profession is managing the linguistic competence in in a in the best way because it's part of our profession. So I always say that professional growth is a personal responsibility. So one of the things that we need to change a little bit is the fact that we are always waiting for someone else externally to take actions for what we really need professionally speaking. So, and I would say that in when we talk about professional development, it's a personal responsibility. And thanks God, I would say that there is a strong community of English teachers, and it's a good opportunity to get together and grow together. So, and definitely, so I agree with Tito in the fact that if we don't use it, you lose it. So we always say that in our training sessions, but this is a must in our profession, definitely.
And it's time to be accountable for it. I mean, we as Ecuadorians, we need to really open up our eyes and see that we have talent inside the country and that we together we can help each other rise up. I mean, as Elizabeth said, I mean, we should never, I mean, we should stop. We must stop thinking that there's going to be a miracle falling on us and boom, we all have our certificates, we all speak a C1 level. That's not going to happen. We have to make it happen.
Yeah, sure. So teachers' comments are also important because I know some of them, they also experience with the B2. And also there are some other teachers that they are in the process of getting the B2. So that's very important that they hear this transmission, okay? And I know that other teachers, okay, they are about to get the C1, which also is important. You know? So, Tito, the same. What do you think about when you have the B2, but now you are on the way to get the C1? Is similar the number of hours you need to fulfill this achievement, or there were some others kind of differences? What do you think about that?
Well, based on the common European frameworks, they have a standard that you require at least 200 hours of instruction. However, we all here, I'm sure you all will agree, because most of us are teachers, we know that wishing or seeing an objective that needs to be fulfilled is not enough. It requires our motivation, our reason, our desire to achieve one. So if that is affected in some way or some level, of course, you're not going to reach that in 200 hours. In some other cases, you might make it a habit, you might make it a daily activity to use the language, to practice the language, to read a novel, to watch movies and stuff. Probably you're going to achieve that even in lesser time.
Yeah, thanks, Tito, because, well, we are talking about like an introduction because we have the rest of the transmission to start this explanation about the B2. So, welcome to everybody. Welcome, teachers. Hello, Tom Collins. Thanks for coming. Miss
Hello.
Emma. Hello.
Hello.
Emilio. Victoria.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Carlos Moyano. Christopher.
Hello.
Lourdes.
Hello,
Lee
everybody.
Marca. And
Hello, how are you?
okay, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to the transmission, okay, that every Saturday
Good evening,
I
everybody.
try to invite you, okay? Hello, Stephanie, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, you are a very faithful, you're a very faithful person to come to these transmissions, okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
So, I think we're going to start now, but first of all, let me introduce to our special speaker, no? Tonight, we have the topic, the importance of B2 for EFL teachers. So, we have now the participation of Mr. Tito Hidalgo. I had the opportunity to meet Tito when he was working in Copay, and he has a lot of experience training English teachers. So, I know who is Tito. So he will be a trainer who can share the experience with us. So you as participants, please, I ask you to have mute your microphone right now, and then when your interaction comes after, you can speak, make questions by making questions, or you can use the chat by texting the questions, and I can read for our speaker. Okay, so I have your collaboration participants. So in order to start, so Tito, we'll get started, no?
Thank you. And again, Andres, thanks for the opportunity to take place in this session. And I prepared a short presentation that I like to share with all the participants. It's kind of a story that I believe that in order for us to go after what we need or what we want, we need to constantly refresh our memory on what that point is, why we're doing it. The why is important. And so let me share, I believe that by understanding where all this is taking us, I think we might find within us one more reason to go after, in this case, the certification. I know a lot of them have given up and are even willing to drop whatever they're doing because they don't find ways to get it. But I think through this, we hope to provoke that desire, that wish to go after that. Meantime, more and more people are joining us. That's good. If you have any questions, so that we keep the conversation going, we need to take advantage when we have this group of selected people. Would you like to ask anything? They also want to be part of that economic growth as a country, as its people. And I'm sure that that's one of the reasons why at one point standards were set, especially for us teachers who teach English. And we know this because we teach English, but I'm sure that there are other professions that have their own requirements. And so that's why certifications are needed in order for us to teach. And of course, how could you teach if your level is not high enough? Especially now that the standards for bachillerato students, for high school graduates, they must have a B1 as an exit level. And of course, the teaching must be higher than that. So as you know, in the intention, our government has set some standards for us teachers to have a level in order to teach. And so that's the reason why we as teachers need to have clarity on that. This is not something for us as a teacher, but this spreads our action effects on the people around us. We as professionals, our students, our communities. And bringing it down to English, we know that English proficiency is essential for international collaboration and success. Again, correlation education and economic growth. We also know that more people around the world than ever before is studying and learning English because it has become the international language of education and business. We know that there have been a few evaluations to our teachers, and the scores have not been that motivating. At one point, only 10% were able to score a B2, and only 4 in the country got a C1. And still, we were the lowest in the region to have. And so, we know our problem. We need to start demonstrating, we as teachers, that we can do this on our own. As we were talking at the beginning, there's not going to be a miracle falling on us. We need to start working on it now. And as you know, as English teachers, you know that English is not something that you practice like math, like addition you prepare tonight and then tomorrow you take the test and you're all fine. No, this, you need to start working now. And so the Ministry of Education has approved some exams for teachers to have some options. And I put together a graph for that, but I believe I'm not going to be able to do that. And so we have the ECCE, we have the TOEIC, we have the TOEFL IBT, we have the ITEP, we have the PTE, we have the Cambridge exams, and the APTES, and we also have some other that I cannot see right now. And so these tests, they all fulfill one specific thing. They all have one thing, that is to certify your level. Of course, we have some tests that are proficiency tests, there are others that are level tests. Some might be easier to achieve because, oh, you're only going to test one level, so there won't be other questions about that level, such as the Cambridge FCE or the PTE General. But there are also proficiency tests such as the TOEFL IBT, the TOEIC, the PTE Academic, and the ITAP, which they're all proficiency tests. You just start answering questions, and based on the right ones, you are placed on one of the bands of the Common European Framework levels, or bands, as I said before. They all have different prices, and they all have their own objectives. Some of them are academic, which require, they go beyond just language for communication, while there are others just for social communication, such as the PTE General, the ITAP example. There are others that are more like for work-related objectives, and others academic, such as the TOEFL IBT. They have also they have different fees and stuff. And so, but what matters here is that we need to stop shooting ourselves on the foot. We need to start working on it now. So if you have any questions, please, we may start with the questions. Andres?
Okay, teachers, you have any questions about what Mr. Tito has really introduced now?
Yes, me. I have a question, Andres.
Okay, Miss Erica, thank you. What is your question?
Okay, the thing is that I want to know the main characteristics or differences between getting a C1, between getting the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. The main difference it is between maybe that one of them it is the American English and the other one is the British one. But which one is the best for us as English teachers in Ecuador?
Well, it's not which one is better for us in Ecuador. If they're within the requirements of the Ministry of Education, you may take either one. Now, it is important for all of us to understand that there is no such thing as British, North American, or English. Now, all the tests have a combination of the accents. And so I'm sure that that's going to help you lower your anxiety about the test. So while one test is for academic purposes, the other one is for work-related purposes. And so, of course, the academic is going to request you perhaps some more challenging tasks for you to do, such as listen to this dialogue, then read this article, and based on those 2 points, you make your own conclusions and explain your conclusions. Well, on the other ones, you just requested to give your opinion about one specific thing. And of course, every level, it requires the levels based on the Common European frameworks. If you happen to see the descriptors, they're very clear on what each of them requests from the speaker.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. Yes, I think it will be a great idea to get, in this case, IELTS for academic purposes, right?
Yes, there are other, I do recommend you, just like we request our students, do your homework, check out the different exams and their purposes, and try them out. Perhaps by the time you try them out, each of them out, you might be even ready to take any of them, because they all have something in common. Example, the Pearson PTE
Down.
General example, it has a section of dictation which I loved when I used to do that one. And so I think that's one particular thing that is positive. Well, there are others that that follow. There are many others that follow the same pattern.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I have another question. This is according to the preparation. It is possible to have, you know, personal preparation, or we must get you know, any kind of training or getting an extra course. What is your suggestion in this case?
My best suggestions, and I'm sure that many of you will agree, is to begin by taking a diagnostic test. We need to know exactly where you're at this moment, so that we can set point A, and from point A, plan your trip or your journey to point B. If you find yourself in a B2 plus, then the time for you to reach your C1 obviously is going to be reduced. In some cases, depending on the time that you have available to reach to that point, might be considerable, and you might even just set an objective from this day on, just to practice and have formal conversations with your friends. Start writing here and there, and maybe by the time, let's say by the end of the year, you might be ready without even going to formal training. However, those who do not know exactly how to follow that, that's where some teacher trainers such as Andres or me or Elizabeth can help out.
Tito, at this moment you can use the share screen.
I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, that was it. I already went through the story. Okay, so that's me right there. And I say that we must operate and respond according to the needs and wants of the context. I say needs and wants because that's reality. Just like in business, the market, we need to consider the needs and wants. And it's simple as that. We need to prepare. We need to be prepared. Andres, remember I told you that sometimes we train martial arts because we want to feel fit, but we hope that we never have to use that we learned. We just got to be prepared. It's like when you also take a course on first aids, when you, just in case you need to participate in an emergency and you can help out by a person with a broken leg or an open wound and stuff. And so, but you prepare, but you hope you don't have to use it. So even though we're employed, that doesn't mean we should stop preparing ourselves or continue polishing our skills or knowledge. We need to always continue working on our professional development, and so that we can be part of a successful future. But this successful future is not created it's not something that falls, as I said before, but it's something that is created by you, by me, and by every single member of our community of English teaching. Because the world is changing, as I said before. The world has changed in many ways. The way we communicate, the way we travel, geographically too. We're having a lot of earthquakes and volcanoes are erupting and stuff. And so we need to be flexible. Like we say in neuro-linguistic programming, you have to be you have to have behavioral flexibility so that you adapt according to the changes. Nowadays, and I'm sure that many of you will agree, it's not just enough to be an English teacher. You need to have some other skills. Like in my case, I love the neuro-linguistic programming because it taps on psychological issues such as how people learn and how people and why people behave the way they do and what really gets their attention, so that once I get their attention, boom, I can contribute to their knowledge or skills development. And so the third rock in general is changing. And so we know that, as I said before, many countries know that. They know that education correlates or it's connected to economic growth. And that's where our country wants to get. Many people know this. Look at Wendy Cope. She's an educator. Maybe you don't know her. But she said education is the most powerful tool countries have for boosting economic growth. Not only her, but come on, Paulo Freire. There's a Brazilian, he's a theorist, and great, I read one of his books. Also Nelson Mandela, but also Shakira. I love this quote because it's clear. It says, education affects every major challenge we face in society. It creates economic growth, paves the way for peace and stability, and helps erase the legacy of marginalization. I'm sure you guys will agree with that. And that is the big picture. That's what teachers need to see. This goes beyond just me getting a certificate. Or you, of course. In this case, we know that English proficiency is essential for international collaboration. And the global economy, again, the correlation or the connection between education and economic growth. More people around the world than ever before are studying and learning English because it has become the international language of education and business, said by ETS. And so, as I said before, we need clarity. We need to know why we're doing this. This is not just because, oh, my employer is requesting that. I don't think I did it. But if we see that there's beyond that purpose, that we're contributing to a bigger cause, perhaps we will find within us a better reason to really go after that. We're teacher guys, we're teachers. And so the same way we demand from our students, pay attention, go after what you're supposed to go after, then we need to set that example. We need to be a role model. Look at that. In the last proficiency index from EF that it does every year, I'm sure some of you know them, we are in place 81. Muy bajo. Y por región tenemos a Guayas, y a Pichincha, Loja, y a Suaya arriba. Aún así, we're still low. And so in the last, in one of the results, after an evaluation to most of our teachers, this is what I was telling you earlier. C1, only 5 in the country. B2, 2,715 out of 9,624. And then the rest below that. So we do have a problem, and it concerns all of us. And it's not only Ecuador, guys. It's not only Ecuador. Other countries are joining in this competition. Remember, we usually nos queremos codear con los exitosos. The same is with the countries. Countries usually do business with other countries that find a way to get to the same level of education and economic growth. That way, people no longer will want to leave our country, but stay here. And so the statistics say that. And we hear a bunch of things every day. Teachers are low in English, so our students are the same, and so on and so on. So we need to go after the standards that the same Ministry of Education has set. Now I know that you guys, or some of the teachers, or most of the teachers, need to present an updated version of their certification of the B2, and those who haven't got it, they need to get it now. If I'm wrong, correct me. But yes, We have the ECCE, the PTE, the APTES, the TOEFL, the Cambridge, the TOEIC, and the ITEP, which is one of the latest exam, or the last exam added to the list. Why? Because it's friendlier. Now, and we know that these tests, am I covering some of the screen with the picture, with the camera? Just well, anyways, the TOEFL, as you know, is 205. It takes 2 weeks to get the results, approximately, and it lasts 2 years. If you have any questions, take notes. I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I finish with this. The TOEIC, it takes 3 weeks for the results. It takes 175 minutes for you to finish the test, and it evaluates all the tests. The writing and the speaking section is done computer or by computer, but the rest of it it's on paper, and this is usually for work-related purposes. We have the ECCE. It's also 165 minutes. It evaluates all the skills, $170. The speaking part is face-to-face, and this one is valid for life. The ITEP, it takes only 90 minutes. You have the results in 24 hours. It evaluates all the skills. The fee is $150. The speaking part is online, and it lasts 2 years. I'm sure some of you are going to ask, what about validity? Why some for life and why some are not? And the ITEP is on demand. That means you take it the day you set. You don't have to wait for an official date. PTA, it's another one that is user-friendly. It's rather social issues rather than academic. This one is on paper, and you have to wait for official dates. It's 120 to 180, depends where you take it. And it also evaluates all the skills. The Ministry of Education has said that. And of course, you need to know that the teacher is proficient in every single ability. And so we have the Cambridge that most of you know. This one has no expiration date. This one is a level test. It's a level test. So that means you only need to certify the B2. That's the level you're going to certify. And so we have a bunch, set this comparison chart. So as I said before, we need to stop shooting ourselves on our foot. We need to start working on it, and now. Because as you know, as you can see, an individual's English level is a complex and subtle thing. An effective English language assessment is able to differentiate between English speakers of a slightly different ability. In addition, an English assessment tool should provide the test taker with a detailed feedback. Knowing one's strengths and weaknesses can be quite useful in the language acquisition process. So it is necessary for us to count with the results to know exactly where you are now, so that we can from there plan how to get you to the next step. And so we need to start working on that as soon as possible, especially those who have struggled for a while in order to not only to get a certification, but raise their proficiency level. Many teachers who call me, and when I say many, maybe I've been limited, but a bunch of teachers usually call me, and you know what? They expect results. They think that it's that English learning acquisition is something that we placed in their minds, and poof, they say, okay, so it's October, I got my certification. That doesn't happen that way. We're teachers, and we know that. That's the same thing that happens inside the classroom. We need to motivate the students in that case because they're underage. They need to be motivated in order for them to practice, and through the practice, meaningful practice, they can get they can develop their level of. Any questions?
Good evening. I have one question for you, Tito.
Stephanie, yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. Um, my question is the next. The international examination expire. So the minister doesn't know for this part if I need to get in the same exam in 2, 3, or 5 years. I don't know, you know about the expiration about the test because I get a B2 with a test. So my my sorry I am so gracious. I confuse my mind. So my boss say me that I need to get the same examination but not APTIS. I need to get the FCE. What happened with the difference with the FCE with the APTIS? And what is the examination expired?
I'm gonna give you my personal opinion about that. So we know the resolución ministerial that has a list of exams. So if you're complying with the law, hey, you can take any of the tests and present that, and that should be accepted. That's my personal opinion. I have no idea why some institutions, for some reason, they have decided that in our institution only this one is allowed to enter this institution. We only accept this certificate. No, if you have any of the certificates, it should be freely accepted because you're complying with what the resolution says. Period. Now, with regard to validity or expiration time, that is usually set by the institution. Institutions usually set that for 2 years, especially proficiency tests, which are usually accepted for academic purposes. Those that are accepted for work-related issues, they usually are for life. Now, where are you? We're employees, but we're also academics. So, in that case, based on a research I did about a year ago, I noticed that most institutions are the ones that set the time. Even if you take a certificate that is for life, they will say, I'm sorry, we need a test that is no more than 2 years old, period. Even I searched some institutions in Europe that said, okay, we will take an official standard test in situ. So even if you have a Cambridge certificate, which is for life, if you go there, they're going to tell you, no, we're not going to accept that. We're going to take one right now. So that's what I can say about expiration date.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Tito, sorry. Let me ask some couple of questions from the chat, no? Angelica Naranjo, she's asking about, do you think self-preparation is enough, or do people need to look for an institute or personal trainer? What can we add for that question, Tito?
We need to. You need to go inside and kind of analyze what's the best way you learn, and go for that. In my case, Tito Hidalgo, at one point in my life, I decided that I needed to fulfill many roles in my life. I had to be a father. I had to be a partner for my wife. I had to be a man, a provider. So I needed to work and everything. But I noticed that we were we were getting competition of other individuals with 2 degrees, with 2 master's degree, and I said, no, 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 I need to keep going. And so I decided to be flexible and start learning to learn on my own. And so now I get my hands on whatever program or book, and Tito won't stop. So you need to go inside and find out what's your best way and go for that. But remember that not always we can achieve success in isolation. We always need a tap or a pat on the back. So that's why, as I said, Andres or I or Elizabeth, experienced coaches, we can help you out.
Thank you so much. And well, somebody else would like to ask any questions for this topic?
If you allow me to point out into comments based on what Tito just said. So the first one is that we need to be aware that reaching the B2 level or reaching the C1 level or any level that we have in our goals and we have in mind is a process. The first is a process. And the second thing, in this process, there are 2 specific moments. The first one is reaching our linguistic competence, but not that linguistic competence that comes from the sense that we want to reach that B2 level just for mere communication. So reaching in this process, in this way, in these different stages that we follow also involves developing our critical thinking skills that are going to be needed for the second moment, and also learning about the culture. So, and how to manage our thoughts, how to organize our ideas. It's going to be very helpful in the second part of, in the second moment, that is learning about the mechanics of any test that we want to take. So, and I have talked with some teachers and they send some messages and says, okay, I need to reach my B2 level, and what happens is that they are not even at that, they are not ready for taking that exam because they haven't even started with the first moment. And the first moment is to start developing your linguistic competences and your thinking skills, because you are going to need that for the second stage, that is learning about the mechanics of any test, any standard test. So that will be my only comment, Andres. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yes. And one there is pragmatics, and they need to work on that also, because as you start reaching higher levels, that is a must.
Tito, I have a question. Okay. Well, according to the experienced trainers, they mentioned that is before we start a certification exam. Okay, it's very important to start with a diagnostic placement test, at the placement test, in order to detect our strengths and what we need to improve. All right. For example, what do you recommend in case someone, okay, a person who takes a placement test, and in this placement test, the results are that the person has a good speaking, but need to train more on listening, reading, but the writing is acceptable, quite acceptable. What is more important, to focus on the strengths, what I'm really good at, or I need to focus more on my needs? So what is the balance? What is the equilibrium I need to focus more in that part?
Well, the thing is that, Andres, we all work with human beings. And as a coach, we first evaluate teachers to see how they handle the evaluation process. But then we still need to go through that other stage, which is an interview, so that we kind of get to know the student, how they see the learning process. And from there, we decide how to tackle it. That is, as you said, should I go for the weaknesses, or should I use the strength to clear out the weaknesses? So every case is different. However, when you get a whole group, then you know we will burn some neurons trying to figure out how to work with a whole group. But then once you have set the grounds to start working with them, then you just go right ahead. But that's my best answer. Yes, sometimes you need to work on their weaknesses, or sometimes you just work on their strength. I usually like to work on their strength because it's easier.
Okay. That exactly, Tito, that I was asking for. Thank you.
Sure. Any other question?
Somebody else?
Carmen, Erika, Carmita, Mario, Carlos, Paulina. There's so many. All
so, okay. Hello, Tito. So, one thing that I was thinking about was similar to what Andres asked you. You know, if we have, yeah, if we obviously we have a lot of weaknesses and also strengths, and most of the time, I think, I don't know if it has happened to most of the teachers here, to the colleagues that I can see, probably the hardest ones or the hardest skills are the listening and also writing. Yep. And we have had the opportunity to take the FC test, and probably the listening is one of the hardest in my very personal point of view, and also writing. And personally speaking, I consider that if we have a lot of difficulties in, for example, in listening or in writing, we must keep on practicing those ones, and obviously we are going to improve. Because if we have a good level in reading or use of English or those things, probably we have to try the ones that are trouble for us. So that's my opinion. Do you agree with me or not? Do you agree that we have to practice the ones that we are not really good at?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. If you're going to work on your own, my best suggestion is always to start with what is easier. And the other, and then the second one that you might place as a second, you might try to create an environment where you are exposed to it on a daily basis. One recommendation that I can give you is to start canceling out or deleting or replacing or renaming "this is difficult," because that usually might be an anchor that is limiting that it, with your unconsciousness right away, it creates like a barrier. Says, okay, this is listening. No, rather play English music, watch movies in English. Of course, don't watch Jane Eyre, the old version, because that's an English, very strong classic English. You don't want to watch that one. And so that it becomes part of you until you get to the point to start working really on that.
Okay.
Because that's what we are. It's where we're exposed to.
Yeah.
And I always ask, go for what is easy first, and then until you're really in, then you go for what is difficult. But then when it's difficult, no, you set the purpose or the objective, and you go, no, you're mine now. This is my turn. I'm gonna win this time, and go for it. I found myself about that would be 6 years ago when I was in a master's program, and I had to go through the module of estadística educativa.
Okay.
I'm not good with math. How could I be good with statistics? So perhaps on reading, I dedicated 1 hour working on that, but in statistics, I had to carry the book everywhere I went, even before I went to sleep. But you know what I said? I said, no, I'm going to eat you alive because you're mine now. So instead of the subject being el animal que me iba a comer a mí, I said, no, this is my turn and I'm going to get you. And that's the attitude we need to set. Even if it is listening or I'm going to get my C1 and I'm going to celebrate it, period.
Great. So it's such an interesting point of view. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Tito.
Sure. Andres, it has been a great session. Thank you very much. It's always great for me to share my how I feel about what I do. You know?
Yeah. So, well, colleagues, so before we are going to conclude this transmission, let me give the brief, very brief part of this B2 preparation. So you can work in your own, okay, and your own pace. You need to work at home, so to prepare yourself. Online groups, there are so many here, that we can use technology in order to prepare in our own pace. For example, I think a good option can be for speaking WhatsApp groups. Okay, many people create WhatsApp groups for speaking English. So I also just did experiment once when I created a question for a specific date, and people start debating, asking, answering the questions, and it was good because some teachers were speaking, producing language, and some others were improving from the ones who speaks much better. So it's a good try. And the rest of the skills, as Tito says, try to use for example, for improving listening. We can do it at home, listening the broadcast, radio, internet, TV programs, Netflix, okay, and there are so many. So anyway, thanks for coming to this important transmission. Thanks, Tito, for your presentation, which is very important and relevant. Elizabeth, it's an honor to see you here to share your experience. And you all guys, teachers, thanks for coming. Just want to say something, okay? Teachers, Andres Rodriguez, English coach, this is the name of this transmission, okay? So taking context, taking part that we are contributing to an EFL field, okay, like you, teachers like you, that you want to improve and you want to get more information. So this is what I'm trying to do. So let me know if you need something on a specific topic, and I can invite someone to present. So we are working in order to contribute it for you. Okay, so guys, thanks. So it was a pleasure.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A big short hold for los que no tienen.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much
Thank
for the
you.
invitation.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Bye, bye,
Thank you,
bye.
Lewis, the pressure. Bye.
Bye, bye, mister.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Pablo. Hello.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hello, Mr.
Thanks, Emma. Bye
Bye,
bye.
bye, bye,
Bye,
bye.
Miss Red. Bye. 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 It's a pleasure for me.
Ay, te dejaste llevar, te dejaste llevar, mueve que sí, que no es bueno. Ahora los niños.
Thank you a lot, Andres. Thank you so much.